All right, welcome back to another episode of Black Girl World Traveller, the podcast. I'm your host, Shira, and I am thrilled to invite you to explore the world through the eyes of a Black woman. This is more than just a podcast. It's a celebration of travel, adventure, and culture with a purpose. As Black women, our perspective is unique, and it's time to amplify our voices and share our incredible stories. Join me as we inspire and encourage each other to see the world in a new light. This is your go-to lifestyle and travel podcast for meaningful journeys and unforgettable experiences. And today we have not one but two special guests, Diane and Nichole. Diane and Nichole co-founded Black Americans in Lisbon, a community supporting Black expats. They help others navigate life in Lisbon while staying connected to their culture. Passionate about Black American culture, they share their journey of leaving the U.S. to find peace and purpose. Through their platform, they offer support and connection for those relocating abroad. Their goal is to create a safe space, welcoming environment for Black expats, help with cultural integration into Lisbon, and connect people to an authentic view of Black Americans. Diane and Nichole, welcome to the podcast.
How are you?
Good. I'm so happy to have you all. You all are my first ever mother-daughter duo on the podcast. So I'm really excited for you all to share your unique perspectives today. So I love to start with how it all started, the inspiration behind creating your group, Black Americans in Lisbon. So Diane and Nichole, who are you and how did you get to Portugal?
Yep, you can start. Well, I'm Diane. Hi, everyone. And so I retired from teaching, and one of my goals as a retiree was to get to Europe. And it was a long goal, and unfortunately, when I retired, it happened to be a COVID season, and the only country that was opening safely and allowed me to travel was Portugal. So I came to Portugal, fell in love with the people, the community, and all of those things. And upon returning back to the States, I realized that it was very doable to retire overseas and to have a better quality of life. And it was giving me the things that I was looking for as an older person with healthcare, the life quality, the sense of community, the safety, the ability to put down my car and not have a license and still have my world be very big and very broad because I had access to public education. It just made sense, and it was going to give me what I wanted as an older person. So I made the move.
Awesome. And Nichole, how about you?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to live abroad, and so I was making those moves to do that, and had looked at a couple of different places, had looked at Mexico, had looked at Costa Rica, and then looked at Portugal and settled on Portugal.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about, once you arrived, why was there a need to create the group Black Americans in Portugal?
Yeah, so when we arrived, we found that there were Black Americans that were living here, but there really was no community that was just a social group where people can just get together on a regular basis, have a foundation. When we arrived here, we realized that there was no Juneteenth celebration. And so we very quickly, after our first week here, put together a Juneteenth picnic, just something very small that we thought we would post out. And we had over 35, 40 people show up to this event to celebrate Juneteenth with food and music, and then people continued to congregate and talk afterwards. And we just realized that there really wasn't a need for a space for people to just get together to talk, to touch base, to share ideas, to just really have a community, because one didn't exist, and that's then where the Black Americans in Lisbon was born.
I want to talk a little bit about like safe spaces, because I think that when Black people, we travel abroad, we look for a safe space, we look for our community. How was it integrating into Portuguese life? Because Portuguese is not a predominantly Black space.
Well, actually, in Lisbon, Portugal is very diverse. So there are people of the diaspora here, because Portugal has lots of colonies that were in Africa. So we do have many people who are here from all over the diaspora as well. So I would not say it was something necessarily based on color. I would say more it is just, learning the language truly. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Nichole said. A very broad Black diaspora here.
Right.
And every space has its own culture. The Portuguese have been very welcoming, and they have their own culture. As a Black American, I have a culture that has been cemented and forged over the past 300 years of Black Americans living in America, we have created a cultural group. And because I chose to leave the country does not mean I am walking away from my cultural group. And my culture needs to exist no matter where I am. And that was the thing that we discovered was many of the Black diaspora had their cultural roots represented here in Portugal, but Black Americans did not. We did not have a cultural space being represented, even though we were here in this country. So we felt it was important to create something that allowed our culture to exist and be celebrated and be shared with other individuals, whether they were from the Black diaspora or they were Portuguese friends.
Got you. So your group focuses on Black Americans. Does that also include those from Black people from Canada and Mexico as well, or is it predominantly those that are from the United States, or my expats from the United States?
Yes, primarily those from the United States.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about this group. How many people are involved? What sorts of activities do you all host? What can people expect if they were to migrate to Lisbon?
Yeah, so we do several different activities throughout the year. We do our annual Juneteenth, which we'll be having on the Juneteenth. And we also do a holiday gathering at the end of the year. We normally do something for Black History Month, and then we're looking at doing something again. So like 4 different events throughout the year, kind of more a random gathering of bowling or something fun just for the community to have. We have a group that meets every Wednesday, so all of Black Americans are encouraged to meet every Wednesday for breakfast. Our groups varies depending on who's in town, who's out of town, or who's visiting, but we probably have on average about 15 to 20 people every Wednesday meeting for breakfast and getting together every single Wednesday of the year.
And that was something that was important to us, was to forge a sense of consistency and community. But so we felt that the breakfast was something that we could consistently do. We have done that every week for about 2 years now, and in the same location, so that people began to realize that we were being consistent and we were showing up every Wednesday, and our desire was to connect with whomever was in town living here, and also those that were visiting and coming through. They knew if they went to this restaurant, there were going to be Black Americans sitting there waiting for somebody to come and somebody to sit and talk and connect with us. And it has grown. It has definitely grown very organically. People have been telling other people that we are there, and they know to find us there. We have been consistently there for 2 years now.
I love that consistency piece, because that's how you build your tribe. Like, you know that there's a group there on Wednesdays, like you said, for their breakfast. You know that you can find your people there. So what other activities do you all do to connect the Black American space to the greater community within Lisbon? I know you said Lisbon is very open and welcoming. How have you all integrated into Lisbon, and what does that specifically look like? What can a person expect if they were to migrate to Lisbon as a Black American?
So I think that question really depends on like what people's personal interests are. I think everyone has a different journey as far as what they're particularly interested in, but there are lots of different hobbies and things that people can really get into. For myself personally, I really get into the dance community, so I do a lot of that. I also connect with the other greater diaspora as well. My mom, she does choir, so
I participate with the choir here, and I also am plugged into the dance community here.
So we do a lot of those things that kind of keeps our day busy. But I would say for those who are moving here, it really goes based upon your interest. You have to have some hobbies, which I know is something that we do not encourage really in the United States, but here it's very encouraged to have some hobbies and to then do activities surrounding those hobbies.
I love that. So find your hobby, find your niche, if you will, and then you'll find your community. Diane, you mentioned having a higher quality of life. Now that you are permanently living outside of the United States, can you talk specifically about what has improved now that you have left the United States?
Yes. Here in Portugal, I don't have a car, so every day that I leave my apartment, I am exercising. I don't have to go to a gym. I don't have to have a gym membership. Organically, I'm exercising. I'm walking to the metro. I'm walking up and down stairs. Lisbon is a very hilly place, so there's a lot of inclines that one is walking up and down. And so just naturally, I am much more physically active because getting into life is fresh and healthy. Lisbon is a fisherman town, and so every day we have fresh food coming from the ocean, and fruits and vegetables are not sprayed with a lot of pesticides, so you have to shop quite frequently in order to keep things from going bad in your refrigerator. Socialization, it's a community, so by socializing with people and getting to know people, you're getting plugged in, and they always talk about how, you need to be connected to other people, and so being connected to other people as you get older is really important. Mobility, I can get anywhere I want in this city simply by riding a bus or a train or subway. So it's very easy for me to get around, and I'm very safe. I've been out until 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't have to be concerned about anybody accosting me negatively or being aggressive towards me. I'm very safe as a woman walking through the streets of Lisbon and getting home. No one bothers me at all. So, and then healthcare. I mean, my goodness, there are some technological things that are done here in healthcare that I've never seen in any of my appointments when I've gone to an appointment in the United States. So the healthcare is excellent here. The dental care is excellent here. So everything just promotes being able to age graciously and age well without having all of the debilitating germs and diseases that I would get as an older person in the United States.
Thank you for that, and I agree with everything. Your life changes when you move out of the United States. Diane, thank you for that perspective. And Nichole, how do you see your life evolving? Because your mom, Diane, is retired, and she wanted a different space of life. You were an active professional, but you were already making those moves. How do you see the course of your life playing out as you are a permanent resident outside of the United States now?
Yeah, so for me, it's really the focus on the path to citizenship so that you can apply for that after 5 years. Mastering the language, just integrating into the community, it's kind of really it. I think it's a different lifestyle here. You're not so much focused on a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan or those plans. You're just kind of focused on the day-to-day. So I would say that would be it for me.
Living in the moment is something that is definitely not encouraged or even taught, being in the United States. So I love that being in the present moment. So as you all are growing your community, what have been some of the highs and lows that you've encountered while living in Lisbon?
For me, I would definitely say a high has just been the community that I've been able to really integrate into. I found a really good group of friends here. I have a well-balanced social life and active life. So I think that would definitely be the high. I don't really think I would have a low per se. I think if anything, obviously learning the language would be a challenge, but I don't think it's necessarily a low. It's not impossible to do. Yeah, I can't think of anything. How about yourself?
The high has been being able to really just connect with people, and whether they're the Portuguese people who are living here or people that are interested in coming to Lisbon and they're coming through to visit, or they've already made that decision and they're here, is being able to connect with them and talk and share stories and how the journey is going for people. Plug people into things about the community that maybe they didn't know about because they haven't had time to figure out some of those things, and being able to share that information. So those are the highs. It's just the constant connection that we're able to do. The low for me has probably been just, it's not a low, but I knew it when I came here. It's needing to learn the language. When you're older, you've spoken your own language for a lot longer. So being able to learn a second language, and it is coming though. So I am excited. I definitely understand it better. I can speak it. I can be communicative with people. And, I know that eventually I'll get to the same level as I am when I speak in English. So it's not a low, but it is something I have to work at.
I love that openness to try new things, especially in language learning. I think adult learning is, possesses its own unique challenges, but it's an area of opportunity to really fully integrate into the community. So how are you all approaching learning the language? Are you in a learning school? Are you doing private lessons? What does that process look like for you all?
We take lessons, so we go to public school through the city, so we go to lessons.
Wow, and is it free?
Yes, yeah, they're free. They really want to learn the language.
That is amazing. So yeah. So how many hours a week do you go to school?
I go 8 hours a week.
Okay.
2 hours, 4 days a week.
Okay.
Then on top of that, I have my flashcards and I have my apps that I'm practicing and studying. It's really important though that you also put yourself out in the community so that you can
Hmm.
see how the native people speak because school is different. School is more fancy and formal than the way that people speak when they're on the street. So it's important that you're putting yourself in coffee shops or other spaces so that you can hear how the people are speaking around you, and practice when you can.
And Nicole, are you doing 8 hours a week as well, or you in a different
Yeah,
schedule?
class, same class.
Oh, okay, awesome. So where would you say your level is? Is a beginner, intermediate?
Intermediate, I would say now. Yeah.
Awesome. And you've been there for 2 years.
Yep, just about 2 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
So
it has required like intentionality. I would say with any language, you have to be intentional about using it, intentional about learning it, intentional about continuously practicing and pushing yourself to learn new words. So I think it doesn't come easy. It definitely comes with a lot of hours put in.
gotta work for what you want, Black Girl World Travelers. Work for what you want. Awesome. So you've fully integrated. I think I'd love to just discuss the mother-daughter duo aspect of it because that is unique. You all are my first mother-daughter duo on the podcast. So what was your relationship like before? It seems like you both already knew that you wanted to like move abroad. Was that independently? What were those conversations like when you said, okay, we're doing this and we're doing this most importantly together? Because a lot of the Black World Travelers, I think that are in the community, they have to convince people to travel with them, but you all seemed very resolved that this is what you wanted to do. So what was your relationship like before you were in the US, and walk me through the process of right before you got on the plane?
Yeah, so we've always been very close. I knew I wanted to move abroad, and she had just recently retired. So I really think having those conversations, and she can speak more to her retirement mind. I think that'd be
Yeah,
beneficial.
basically, I had known for a while that she wanted to move abroad. So with me, it was more utilizing my vacation time before I retired to scout out places with her and where she thought she might land. Is she going to go into Mexico? Is she going to be in Costa Rica? So we were taking little trips during my available vacation time of summer to go see the world basically as it related to where she thought she wanted to go. And so it was exposing me to life outside of the States in small doses because I was only needing to be gone for a short period of time and those kinds of things and navigate the languages and all of those things about being abroad. And once once I pulled the trigger and said, okay, I'm retiring for good, it was I want to do my European trip. As I said earlier, unfortunately, COVID had hit and everything was closed down. And the only country that was available was Portugal. And so we came to Portugal. While we were here, she basically said, I think I found it. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that means that I need to move to the East Coast because there's no way I'm going to try to fly from the West Coast all the way to Portugal every time I want to see you. And she was like, well, if you're going to go to the East Coast, you might as well go to Portugal. You're moving anyways. So I was like, you're right, I am. I am moving anyways. If I'm moving across the entire continent, a few more hours, and in looking at the quality of life that I would gain, it was a really easy yes for me.
So we talked about this in a separate conversation, but not on a podcast. But you all lived in California
Yeah.
prior, and Diane, where were you going to move to the East Coast?
I had originally been scouting any place that was warm. So obviously it was going to be maybe in the Atlanta, Georgia area, Florida area. I have a friend that lives in North Carolina. So I had basically been scouting spaces according to where I thought she was going to land. If she was going to land in Mexico, then it was like, okay, well, this is a direct flight. I can do this airport here. If she was going to go to Costa Rica, okay, this is a direct flight here. So I was basically choosing places based on, okay, where's the airport? What has a direct flight to Costa Rica, Mexico? Where is she going to be? And so, yeah, my places were really going to be decided by her, but mainly Florida. I really like Tampa. I really like the Fort Lauderdale area. So I was kind of looking at those places. North Carolina, and some other spaces along the eastern seaboard. I was looking. As long as it wasn't going to get cold and be snowy, I was looking at it. And as long as it had a big enough hub of an airport for me to get to where she was going to be. So those were my guiding factors until she said Portugal. And I was like, I don't know what flies there, but I would have been on the East Coast trying to make that flight until she said, you're already moving across the whole continent. What's a few more hours? so,
I love that y'all are super close. She's just like, Mom, just come with me. I love that you were willing to like follow her until you actually just came with her. That is so beautiful. And I hope that your story inspires some of the Black Girl World Travelers listening to maybe consider moving with their mom or with another woman relative. It really is a beautiful thing to have someone with you along your journey. So thank you for sharing.
I think it helps a lot, truthfully. It really, really does help. And I think that, sometimes being in the United States, we're very individualistic, but most of the people that are moving here, many of them, they are moving as family members or, one moves, but with a plan for the rest of the people to relocate. So it's actually very, very common for families to move, or members of families, brothers and sisters, mothers and daughters, etc., to relocate.
And that was something that was attractive to me, really, was seeing the high level of community connectivity. It is very common here to see grandchildren going to grandparents' houses to walk with them, especially because they're older grandparents, but they want to make sure the grandparents are getting a walk or whatever. And so you see this intergenerational connectivity happening all the time throughout this country. And it was very attractive to me as an older person, the intergenerational connection that people were having with other members of their family. And, I don't see a lot of old folks' homes here. And I don't see a lot of assisted living homes being created here. Grandparents stay in their home as long as they have health to be able to stay in their own homes. And they always have a family member that's popping by to make sure that they are okay and everything is fine.
So if you're looking for a family structure that prioritizes our elders, it seems like Lisbon may be a good choice for those considering moving abroad. I love that. And that's quite the opposite of what we have in the United States. It's like, soon as the person, like, their mind goes, or their ability to care for themselves goes, it's like, okay, they transition them, their families typically transition them into a nursing home. So, and we lose a lot of wisdom as a result of that, right? When we split up families. So Black Girl World Travelers listening, definitely consider Lisbon if you want to move with your families. I also want to talk about some of the logistical pieces, because I know we have a millennial younger audience. I know, Diane, you retired when you moved to Portugal. Nichole, you always knew you wanted to move abroad, so you prepared yourself in terms of your career for that. What advice would you give to folks who maybe like younger, earlier starting in their careers, but have that travel bug, want to fulfill their wanderlust? What actionable steps can they take to prepare for their move abroad?
Definitely pick a great career that allows you to work remotely, find a skill that you can transfer outside of the United States. I would highly, highly encourage that. I also would say to, look for a place that's going to give you a life that you're going to be living. Don't just decide on a location because you think it's pretty or because it's very popular. This is some place that you're going to be settling down. You need to be able to settle into it with your hobbies or interests or things that really, really tether to you. And I would say, lastly, I think that people should just move in a way in where you're coming into the community to contribute, not solely to take. I think that's very important, especially now as people are traveling so much more than we ever have before and people are relocating. Making sure that you're going in with that mindset, because the community is offering the community to you. So you have to pour something back into it as well.
I love that piece, to go to give and not only to take. That's a really important piece to remember, where no matter where you're going in the world, always go to give and not just take. And I think us Americans, we can be takers without even sometimes realizing that we are taking, whether that's space, time, or dominating a space, expecting to, speak English even though we're out of the country. So thank you for that, Nichole. That is so, so important. I also want to talk about your relationship with the United States. Now, you all are permanently no longer living in the United States. But did you all have to go through any release process? What was that like? And will you what, if any, connections do you still have with the United States? Because that's a big step. I've seen a lot of folks, say I'm moving abroad like myself and I did it for a year. I only stopped because of COVID, but you all are like, you're permanently just done. So what relationship, if any, will you maintain with the United States? And also, what was that process like of letting go? Specifically, with your two different, you being in two different places in your life.
Yeah, so for me, I've not been back to the United States since relocating. I have no plans to go back. And I kind of had really no ties to it very strongly prior to moving. I kind of knew that I wanted to move abroad, so I made the steps to kind of cut those ties ahead of time. So for me, it was a pretty easy move. I don't know about her.
Well, again, I made the decision to come abroad with the invitation from Nichole. But for me, I think that's part of what is good about our Black Americans in Lisbon group is that it is a space that when we come together to definitely process the leaving of America part, because it is a process. When you're an older person, you've lived in that space for a long, long time, so you're shedding off or getting rid of some perceptions, some misconceptions, whatever the weight is of stressors that you may be up under. It was easier for me. Both my parents had passed away. I had recently lost my dad, so that was a tie that other people do have that are my age, that they have a parent or whatever, so it makes it more difficult for them to make that decision. For me, because both my parents have now passed away, I did not have that tie. I do still have siblings and nieces and nephews there, and obviously I care a great deal about them. But as far as other ties to the United States, same as Nichole, once I made the decision that I was coming out of the United States, I knew this was a forward move. It was not going to be a backward move in any way, shape, or form. So I made sure to disentangle myself from any other ties. House is gone. Everything is all done. And so basically, it's just myself and what I valued as important to me to bring with me, because I was not going back to pick up anything, store anything, have anything in storage, nothing. So it was a one-way move and a one-way decision for me. And I just made sure to make that I did all of those things. And then anything that I am still processing, I have a group of people that are from the United States that I can sit and chat and talk to, and we can still process any of the other things that we don't, sometimes hidden things that we don't realize we are carrying, and it just kind of comes up because of maybe something across the news feed or something along those lines, and it's like, oh, I still have a little bit of a tie there, so you have to process that and untie it.
Thank you for that. Speaking of some of those hidden things and things you see across your newsfeed, I know that when Americans go abroad, the first thing people want to talk to us about is politics, which is so embarrassing sometimes, especially in today's political landscape. So what, for those who are native to Lisbon, what is their engagement like with Black Americans, like generally? I know you said that they're very friendly. Do you talk about politics at all? What are those conversations like? Or if you're processing those things in a group, what are those conversations like?
Yeah, so I would say with the people living in Lisbon, they do ask questions, from time to time, but I think people have to realize sometimes we can be a little egocentric in the United States, where we think that our politics and our things dominate the entire world, and they don't. They have a whole bunch of stuff going on here that they're primarily focused on. Like, we have elections that are coming up next month, so they're not really super concerned with another country's actions. If something is crazy, they'll say, wow, that's crazy. But as far as really wanting to dig in and have a conversation, not really, because they're not American. It doesn't really apply to them. So I think that is honestly something that is kind of refreshing, because sometimes you can get bogged down when you are around Americans, because it is our home country, and so things are being consistently talked about. In the Black Americans group, we do give people a chance to process and talk about what they're currently dealing with, if they're, en route or planning to exit, or, dealing with the stressors of home, and just kind of creating and allowing a safe space for people to have those conversations that they might not be having elsewhere. What would you say?
Yeah, I would agree. Pretty much, if it's like something that we do need to be aware of, because it is impacting potentially us abroad, and it's just impacting maybe a member of our family members back east, back in the States. We do give people space to talk. We've had some very intense breakfasts sometimes because of some things that have gone on in the States, and people are kind of waiting, and they know that they can come to breakfast and this is a space for them to have this conversation around, and we give everybody space to speak and talk about what their concerns are, their fears, their tears. And we've had some very crying breakfasts with upset people, but we do have all of that come out during a breakfast time, and it just allows people that very safe space to do that. Interacting, like Nichole said, with the broader population of Portugal, we often, do not really need to engage around things that are pertaining to America other than, wow, that's crazy. We get some interesting memes sent across from some of our friends that are letting us know they see something going on and they're aware of it. But at the same time, we also get to have some very engaging conversations with people that are curious about Black Americans and why we're here and why we have left the United States. So it is fun to always get into those conversations too with members of the community that are curious on why Black Americans, why are you here?
What do you all hear most from the Black Americans in Lisbon group as the reasons why they've left the United States?
People have varying reasons. Some people don't like the politics. Some people were looking for something different. Some people have always had a dream of moving in Lisbon. Everybody's reason for why, I would definitely say, is varied.
Yeah. Same as me, I'm realizing the quality of life as an older person was going to be better by leaving the States. So varying reasons all over the place. I would say leaving because, the American situation that is going on is not the dominant reason why people are making that move.
Everybody has their own reason. I love that. And Nichole, going back to what you said, like those from Portugal or the broader community, they have their own issues. They have elections coming up. So they don't really need to talk about America. So what are the politics like in Portugal, in Lisbon, and how do they compare to life back in the States?
I mean, they have parliament, they have the president, they have, I guess, the various different boards. Truthfully, I am not too much into the politics of Portugal because I can't vote. So I do listen to, what the issues are being told, but as far as the politics, I can't vote. So it's not something that I'm learning now, maybe in the future, but now not really. What about you?
They have a president who's definitely is very visible and speaks up for his country. They have the same as we have, which is political parties. Unlike us, we only have two political parties. They are able to have more than two political parties. So, based on I don't know the in or outs of it, but I do understand that based on the number of votes each political party gets determines how many seats they have in the parliament, and parliament is where decisions are made and things are discussed and laws are decided, and things are guided for the benefit of the people of Portugal. That is kind of one of the big differences, is having more than two political parties.
And so you all will be able to vote after 5 years when you are eligible to get citizenship at that point.
You can vote after you become a citizen. So right now it's the same as for those who are in the States who are just residents. You don't get to vote.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you have a little bit about the political system, but it seems like you all are thriving, loving Portugal and just moving ahead and moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing I think that travel can do, is just to propel you forward. And so, and in your case, not even looking in the rear view mirror. So for those Black Girl World Travelers who have never been to Lisbon, what are some of your top recommendations, things to do, your favorite places? I can say I absolutely love Lisboa. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. But I love to hear it from those who now permanent residents of Lisbon.
There's so much to do and to see. I think I love the Castelo São Jorge, which is one of the more castles that's in the city. There's obviously, Belém, which has a whole bunch of different discoveries, monuments that you can see. What else would you say?
I love the museums. If you want to know or understand the heart of Portugal, go to the museums. Their museums tell the story of Portugal over and over and over again. You can have a rich understanding of who the people are and what the people have done to create this country. They have just celebrated Freedom Day this past weekend. So they've had 51 years of a democracy now. So they are a young democracy. They overcame a dictator. They overcame a fascist system without a single bullet being fired. And so, that story is there for you to discover and to explore. I love our beaches. We have over 300 beaches along the Atlantic coast that are gorgeous and beautiful. And now that the sun is warming up, it's a great time to be out at the beach. So there's just a lot to explore, from the food to the wine to the historical sites to just walking around in our parks and enjoying the beautiful people and the things that you see.
Yeah. And I actually do, as part of my part-time, one of my hobbies, I actually do itinerary creation services. So if people are looking for like more local things to do when they do come to Lisbon, I am the person to connect with as well. As I said, I'm very busy, many hats, but yeah, my group, the Proximate is what I use, is what I run, theproximate.com, and that's where people can go to get a custom Lisbon itinerary for all the different things to see.
Thank you for that. We'll be sure to include that in our show notes as well, theproxymake.com. If you need itinerary creation for your time in Lisbon.
Yes.
So looking ahead, you all graciously created this group of Black Americans in Lisbon. What are your hopes and dreams for the group going forward?
Just to thrive, I would say, to thrive and have the same that you see in California and the southeast, during the southwestern United States. You see strong Mexican American communities, Chinese American communities. We hope that in Portugal there'll be a strong Black American community. The same that you see a strong Nigerian community here or a strong Cape Verdean community. We hope that same thing will be there, and that we'll be able to, again, share our culture with those that are living here, and those of the Portuguese culture as well, have a great cross-cultural exchange. I think it's important.
Yeah, I would agree. I have watched many different cultures arrive to the United States. And the one thing that they all have in common is that the first one has to settle and establish a community, and everybody else finds them. And they all know what they have in common, which is this cultural foundation. And as Black Americans, we have this theme. We have a cultural foundation, and we are now at a space where we can take ourselves out of a country that we have been in for many years. And when we take ourselves out of that country, we bring with us that culture and that history. And it should not be lost. It should be treasured. It should be cultivated, and it should be shared with not only each other, but with the broader communities that we find ourselves landing in, whether it is in Portugal or somewhere else. Our culture deserves the opportunity to thrive and to be cherished, just as they do the same when they come into the United States of America.
So thank you for that, Diane. Speaking of Black American culture, there's a lot of debates in the United States about what Black American culture is. I know one of the things that you all did was you started a Juneteenth celebration when you all started the group. How would you define Black American culture?
Black American culture I would say Black American culture is a regional culture, obviously, because Black Americans are across. So there is no one Black American culture, but I definitely think it would tie into food. It would tie into music. It would tie into lingo, phrases that we all use and learn. I think those are the cross-regional threads that would really tie Black American culture together. And they are completely unique and separate from any of the rest of the African diaspora, as well as anywhere else in the world. So I think if I had to explain Black culture, American culture, that's what it would really be in. I think even, pop culturally, or it's the fashion, it's the music, it's all these different things that we see being blasted across the world, but not really having much respect or acknowledgement of the culture that those things are coming from.
We have a very robust jazz community here, and I'm sitting here listening to all the great jazz artists of the States being sang with Portuguese voices and Portuguese musicians, and registering and recognizing what cultural group gave birth to the jazz and acknowledging that and appreciating that. And as Nichole said, we are a very diverse regionally cultural group, but there are some very common threads throughout what we have built in the United States, in our food, in our music, in our dance, in our clothes, in our hair. We have some things that are, no matter whether you're in North Carolina and you're all the way out to California, there are some things that are definitely connecting us in the fabric called Black American culture.
I love that. Thank you for that. And for those that think that Black Americans don't have a culture, now you've been more educated, because that is a.
Have
Go ahead.
the most recognized culture, and I think that is something that we as a people group do need to recognize. We have the most popular culture in the entire world.
We do.
The world.
It is so true that, like, no matter where you go in the world, people know about Michael Jackson. People know about the latest fashions that, like, are trending because of, like, Black Americans. Diane talked about jazz. I think it's the most popular culture. I don't know if it's just like the least respected or not. I don't know. Maybe, you all having this group, the Black Americans in Lisbon, is like, no, this is maybe Black Americans. We got to start going throughout the diaspora and sharing and giving, like you all said, giving our culture and being representatives of it too. That's really important as well. So thank you all so much for coming on today's episode. It was so amazing to witness a mother-daughter duo permanently move abroad. This is so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. I'd love to give you the opportunity to share any parting words with Black Girl World Travelers who may be interested in permanently moving abroad.
Yeah, definitely. I would say do your research. As I said, visit every place first. Do not just move abroad on a whim and a prayer. It takes planning, but I would also say if you do want to come, make sure you come and that you're staying a Wednesday so that you can come and see the community that's here. Every Wednesday, 10 a.m., we're here. So make sure if you are going to visit Lisbon that you are here for one of the Wednesday breakfasts just to get you connected.
And I say do it. If you are at all interested in living outside of the United States, it is something that is very doable with planning, with a passport. Please make sure you have your passport. With a passport and with planning, the world is open to us. And we are welcomed in many, many spaces. And Lisbon is here. It's here to welcome you. We're here to welcome you. The Black Americans in Lisbon will be here to welcome you, and we would be excited to see you.
Thank you so much. So theproxymate.com is where you all can go for itinerary creation services. Where else can they go to find you all if they want to connect with the group?
Yes, so we have our Facebook page, Black Americans in Lisbon. That's our Facebook group. So go there, join the group. All the events are posted there that we are having. Again, we will be having our Juneteenth as well. So people are going to be here around that time to come out there. But the group is where you'll get plugged in. And then when you do come to Lisbon, we have WhatsApp groups so you can have a more personal connection with those that are living here.
And we also have an Instagram
Oh, and
page.
Instagram too, yes. Black and Lisboa.
Okay, so follow them there. And Diane and Nichole, thank you so much for coming on today's episode. In this episode, we talked with mother-daughter duo Diane and Nichole behind Black Americans in Lisbon about what it really means to start fresh in a new country. They shared why they left the United States, what life in Lisbon looks like, and how they're building a supportive community for Black expats abroad while maintaining culture along the way. If you ever wanted a glimpse into what life is like to live abroad, this is for you. Diane and Nichole, thank you so much.